Hey, good evening, guys. It's Jeff, on Food Dojo here. I've been sitting here for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, wondering whether I should say anything. All day I've been uneasy and antsy and just not irritable, but just something in the air. It's palpable. Things are changing. So I'm not even sure what I'm even going to say. I felt an urge. I felt prompted, if you will, by the spirit to say something. But now that I'm here, I'm having trouble collecting my thoughts, and so I just ask whoever is watching for your prayers, your encouragement, for as long as I can remember, 4, 5, 6 years old. I've always been sensitive to the spiritual world, whatever you want to call it. You know, the other side of the veil. I've always been drawn to it. I love horror movies. Um, growing up small, I would watch everything. Probably most a lot of things I shouldn't have watched. That opened the door, and that was a big mistake on my part. A naive mistake. I didn't know. Curious. It's one of those things that when that door opens, it's very, very, very hard to close. At least close all the way. I mean, you can close the door some way, but it just seems like that door is open. I might have done some stupid stuff, guys. Ouija boards, seances, just teenage kid stuff in the '80s that you'd watch different movies and just see this stuff. Oh, that was kind of fun. That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's exactly what Lucifer wants. But there's no one. I mean, other than your religious leaders. I mean, yeah, everyone talks about, yeah, there's evil out there, but I mean, no one is specific. No one is making it their life. Excuse me, making their mission to help people recognize, what's going on. And I mean, I don't think even until recently, maybe the last 4 or 5 years, maybe not even that. I said it in the last video. The greatest lie ever told is that Lucifer doesn't exist. One of the things that, in the LDS Church it talks about, signs of the times and that kind of thing is, how our Constitution will be hanging by a thread. Okay, you could argue that. I think you could argue both sides. Republican, Democrat both had a hand in that. I don't think one side is guiltless. And I'm neither. Just to be very clear, I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I am my own person, my own sovereign state, if you will. Uh, because it's just hard to trust politicians. Period. Just needs to get the truth. You know, Everyone says they have your best interest at heart, but there's always a what if or a but. You know, in the same sentence. So I'm just having a complete stupor of thought right now. It always works like this. The universe is very, again, this is Jeff Jensen's philosophy and opinion. It may be mingled with, scripture and, other stuff, things I've learned, doctrinally in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But, this is observational. This is by no stretch of the imagination is this some endorsement that I'm making for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But this is my own observation, my own, what I see happening is we've gotten to a place in our society where immorality has become a civil right, and we accept it. Even those people who aren't for it accept it by not doing anything about it, by not speaking up. And maybe that's what I'm supposed to do today. I don't know. But I do know this, that when much is given, much is required, and I've been given a lot in my life from my Heavenly Father. I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've fought a lot spiritually and have won and lost. As you get older, you realize just how not gray the world is, how black and white it really is, how evil really is. There was a shift after the 80s, shifted a little bit in the 90s. Y2K was a pretty big shift, but not like it's been the last couple of years. There's been a noticeable worldwide shift towards immorality, and this concept of, you know, it's my body, I can do whatever I want with it. And I'm not referring necessarily to abortion or other things. I'm just, this autonomy that people want, this um they want it at the cost of my own rights and freedoms. They want me to give that up so that I can, you know, ignorantly, naively, knowingly agree with them. And I don't need to say exactly who. That's not even important. We all know who I'm talking about. Mm, It's not the left, it's not the right. It is the overwhelming surge of evil in the world, masked by literally personal emotion. I mean, we've gotten to a point where we have literally crapped on truth. I'm surprised that we even believe that 2 plus 2 is 4 anymore. I'm sure there's someone out there that would argue that it doesn't equal that. That's where we've come in our society. That's what's happened. That's the hold. I mean, think about it. That's how powerful Lucifer is. That's how patient he is. Thousands and thousands of years he has whittled away. He attacked women for years, and he realized that was a losing battle. So what did he do? He came in after men, and he is after men now. They have destroyed the concept of masculinity in men. Chivalry is dead. And you talk to women, and it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If I don't open the door for you, I get this. If I do open the door for you, I get this. And neither of them are positive. I think if anything, what's happened is, as we have attacked men over the past few years, I think women have become somewhat complacent. They definitely think they're better than they are. And I don't mean that in a mean way. There's nothing wrong with, shooting for the stars, but reality needs to be a part of that. You know, here you have women and, dating experts, relationship experts, talking about the dating pool and how horrible it is. Birth rates are down exponentially, and yet body count is up higher than it's ever been for women. OnlyFans is destructive. You may be able to get rich off of it, but what is that buying you? So you can have a nice house, a nice car. What about your happiness? What about your spiritual well-being? What about your personality? How you feel about yourself? Do you like yourself? Do you love yourself? Are you embarrassed? Are you humiliated? Are you humble? So we live in a society where immorality has become a civil right. They people fight for it. They they fight based on pure emotion, a pure emotional response. And that for some reason in an argument, if I don't validate your emotion, if I don't validate that this makes me feel good, so you have to do it. No, that's not how it works. I love the line that a lot of these liberals, feminists, transgender, binary, secondary, thirdary, whatever it may be, they hear that you're a Christian or that you're religious or you believe in God. And the first thing they love to throw out there were, Jesus Christ loves everyone. And you know what? You are absolutely right. He does. But that doesn't mean he likes you. What's happening is they want you to believe that Jesus loves their behavior. He loves the fact that they are wishy-washy about their ideology. They want that affirmation that, I believe I'm this, I believe I'm that, knowing, and they all know this, guys. Don't let them play you any other way. They all know what they're saying is false. But it's easier to play make believe, much easier to play make believe than it is to live in reality. And that's the problem we're having. In fact, that may be the most powerful thing I've ever said. It's complete, utter make believe. And yet you have people out there that are affirming that. And they are doing it regardless of the overwhelming scientific proof otherwise. And so you wonder why. Just everything's escalated. If anybody feels the same way, put, hey, I feel the same way, Jeff, in the comments below because I would like to be able to love everybody. I'm not quite there yet. That doesn't, I don't want to see anybody hurt. I don't want to see anybody bullied. but I am not going to be bullied. I've already been through that. Horrifically, I've been through that in my younger years, and I am not going to be bullied. I am not going to stand by and be idle. I'm not going to be a fence sitter. I'm not going to be lukewarm. I'm going to share my opinion. I have my personal space. You cross it, and you're just gonna get. That's it. I don't need to explain myself. That's one of the advantages of being an adult. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you anything. You don't. You haven't deserved that. No one deserves that. You haven't earned that right to know what I'm feeling. You don't have that right to demand from me that I need to act a certain way or announce who you are in a certain way because it makes you feel better. That's selfish. That's petty. That's immature. And you sound like a 2 year old little tantrum going on, whining. It's all you hear is just this whiny noise. Wah 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 wah. That's what it's just it's annoying. And it's even worse when you have adults that act like that. I mean, anybody over 18 that acts like that, it's bewildering. I mean, it's a nut. It's like it's a contagious nut job virus. I mean, people are immoral, and a lot of people don't come up to them and say that they're brave for being immoral. Where does that make sense? I mean, just this popped in my mind, but Caitlyn Jenner, what about her? Him? What? It doesn't really matter. She won Woman of the Year? Kidding me? And other women were okay with that? That shows you where we've come. That's where we were and where we're going now. You women were okay with that. A biological man pretending to be a woman won Woman of the Year, and you called her brave, and you think that's okay. What's the reality of this? Well, the problem is we've distorted reality to a point where reality is basically defined by everybody individually now. There's no universal reality anymore. It's whatever makes me feel better. How are we ever going to advance as a civilization where our future is based completely on lies and distrust and unworthiness and being deceitful? I mean, how can you civilizations have faltered in the past because of those things. Almost every one. If you go back to any civilization that has failed or was taken over or crushed. Listen, the reality of it is this: there is a Lucifer out there. I testify that he's there. Okay, he's real. He's powerful. He wants you to fail, and his reach is it's infinite in terms of the space of the earth. There isn't a place he can't go or influence. Even sitting in church, you could have a thought pop in your head that's inappropriate. There's no safe place. That's why, why, if you think, why, well, Jeff, why'd you create Mormon Food? Well, it's because of that very thing right there, is I need to be able to have the tactics necessary. I need to have the skills and techniques necessary that when that pops in my head, I have a way to hit it or block it or kick it out. And so metaphorically, Mormon Fu has become a metaphorical martial art. I fight spiritually all the time. And if anybody else is fight spiritually, if anybody else is in a place right now where it's uncomfortable or you're hurting, put it in the comments, please. Let me know. I don't believe I'm alone in this thinking that, the that temptation and sin and the overwhelming darkness is covering the earth is happening at a rapid rate. We are accepting evil like it's kind of a like an inheritance of some of sorts. The phrase "good guys finish last" is no, is more apparent now than it's ever been. Women don't even want to date good guys. They don't want to date guys that are chivalry or masculine. They want to date these guys that are pussies and they're wimps. They're cowards because they can have a foothold over them. And then they wonder why relationships don't work. Every woman wants a strong man. Every man wants a beautiful a beautiful woman in his eyes. You know, that's yeah, there's more I could talk about, but I just felt it an important thing to say that it's only going to get worse. There's no other time in the history of the world where we need to be prepared as followers of Christ, disciples of Christ, and students of the martial arts, whether it be physical or spiritual, it doesn't matter. You still need to, I mean, the physical aspect of martial arts, yeah, great. It's great self defense, it's great discipline. Teaches us, patience and, and discipline and hopefully the ability to think before we act. Spiritual martial arts tackles the other side of that, the part that no one else sees that we're battling. We can look at someone and they can be going through the worst experience in their life, but we have no idea. And they need that Mormon food. They need that, the practice of doing something over and over again that's positive, that brings in stumbling blocks for Lucifer that, it trips him up and it keeps him guessing of whether he's getting a foothold on you. Something that's going to build you up, create a strong self-esteem and, eliminate your self-loathing. Everybody is their own worst critic. We need to eliminate that. You need to love yourself more than anybody else. How can you expect to love anybody else if you don't love yourself? All right, guys. Listen, the fight is real. That's why I put together this Mormon Food Dojo and this concept of Mormon food in this fight. If you're in the fight, please type fight in the comments below. Let me know that you're with me in this. But if you would do this for me, stand up, guys. Believe in yourself and stand up for something. Fight for it. If you love yourself, if you love your family, if you have people that you love in your life, fight for them. Let them know that they're loved. Let them know that you're there to protect them. You're there to help them, inspire them. And if we're all doing this for each other, it's reciprocated, and it's an infinite circle of compassion and love that we all need. Think about that. Everyone needs a little more compassion. Everybody needs a second chance. But in saying that, you need to be humble about it. You need to have some level of, of, of becoming like a child, like it talks about in the scriptures, under the Lord, being submissive as a child. Do you know what that means? Being submissive as a child doesn't mean you're a slave. Does it mean you're less than? But have you ever seen a child look up at his parents, just begging? You can see it in their face that they just want to know what to do because they don't know what to do. They have no experience. They're learning. They want to learn. Dad, mom, teach me. How do I be a better person? How do I interact? Conflict resolution. How do I, if someone's picking on me, how do I work around that? What do I do? Learn to read your kids' faces, parents. Help them. Don't penalize them. Don't get mad at them. tell you this though, if they're being bullied, if you don't want to get rid of it, you just got to punch them in the face. It's that simple. That's the only language that they meet. And you can argue and you can say, Jeff, that well, violence doesn't solve anything. Well, you're absolutely wrong. I'm sorry, but you're wrong and you're stupid and if you think that's the truth, then you're naive. You stand up for yourself, whatever it takes. That doesn't mean you create the offense, just like Moroni. But if a bully lays his hands on you in any way, shape, or form, touches you in the wrong way, hurts you, then you need to hurt him back. You don't go looking for trouble ever. That's the creed of a martial artist. I use my martial arts for defense, for peace, and for love. But if you cross that line and you threaten me or anybody that I love, okay, then restraint needs to be used. But that doesn't mean that you don't become a defensive monster to protect the ones that are around you. And sometimes that means you need to be aggressive. You know, in the words of Bruce Lee, you master the art of fighting without fighting. And that only goes so far. You can only talk till you're blue in the face, and then action needs to happen. Hopefully, we all have the spirit, and it will help us to talk our way out of those situations, that we'll be able to discern the thoughts of those people who mean us harm. But sometimes those people are just mean, and they have a spirit also that's in them that's nasty. It's evil. It wants revenge. It wants to hurt, cause pain, because that's how it can alleviate its own pain. At that point, that's when you need to stand up for what you believe in, protect those that you love, regardless of what happens to you. That's love. Guys, have a good day, a good night. Remember that the fight is real. Mormon Food Dojo here is always here for you guys. I know this is a brand new channel and I'm new to you guys. It's a new face, and you probably have heard or seen 1,000 people like this. You're going to find that I'm like nobody else. I'm nobody special. I'm nobody important. But I do have a message. And if you want to hear it and you're interested in it, then please subscribe, because we'll be able to take this fight together and win. Peace.